All right, you guys, got another question. This one's a little bit of a different question. I've never heard this question before, but I think I know where it's coming from. The question is, in Job 38:14, it says, referring to the earth, it is like clay under the seal. SEAL, I think like a seal on an envelope or something like that, right? And so the question is why does he describe the earth as clay under a seal? Isn't clay under a seal flat? All right. So I'm smirking. I'm sorry. I can't not smirk. The earth is round. I don't know what else to say. I think that's where this is going. Being a pilot, I have seen the curvature of the earth with my own two eyes from 50,000 feet, and it's pretty obvious. In fact, maybe I could show you all a picture at some point. I'm sure I have one. But more importantly, let's talk about this, because this is probably the most dangerous pieces of hermeneutics, of exegesis, when we read through scripture and we pull out a section and we go, let me just quote this verse. And I'm not saying this is what you're doing. I am sure this was somebody trying to prove a point, probably, and listing off, hey, here's biblical evidence that the earth is flat. Let me just back up a little bit and let me read a little bit more of Job 38, right? So Job is poetry. It's in a group of literature in the Old Testament, right? You'll often hear it called, you've got the law, the prophets, and wisdom. And that's the wisdom is usually Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, and Job. I don't think I'm missing any there. And then you got the prophets and you got the law, and so Job is poetic, and we don't get that because it's in Hebrew, and Hebrew, what rhymes in Hebrew doesn't necessarily rhyme in English, and their rhyming structures in Hebrew, or their poetry, their rhythm is different than it is for us, right? It's like for example, I think a lot of us are familiar with haiku poetry. Well, those don't rhyme, but that's I think it's Japanese, but that's a Asian poetry that has a certain rhyming features to it. So Job is largely the same way. So let me read for you Job 38:8, and what he's doing is he's as Job's questioning God's motives and what's happening to him, God responds and lambasts him, basically, and says, who are you to question me? And that's basically the summary of it. And frankly, it's a great section of scripture for us to dwell on every once in a while. But Job 38:8 says, who shut in the sea with doors when it burst out from the womb? Okay, so immediately we're all over the place if we're taking these things literal versus figurative, right? What's his point? The sea isn't actually, there's no doors that hold the sea in. What he's trying to give you a perception of, you understand what doors are, right? Like could you even make a door that could hold in the sea? We couldn't. We don't even have the technology that can do that from a pressure perspective, probably, right? Like this is the challenge. I mean, I guess we have doors. They're huge dams, right? Did the sea burst out from a womb? Well, no. Verse 9, when I made clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling band. Right? So he's talking through this stuff in a way that is not intended to be literal or even give us a picture of accuracy is not what he's trying. Emotion is what the wisdom literature is often tapping into. Even verse 13, it says that it might take hold of the skirts of the earth. Clearly, the earth doesn't have a skirt, right? Or the edges, if you will. And it even says, and the wicked be shaken out of it, right? God doesn't shake the earth and wicked people fall out of it. He's trying to create imagery. So anyway, so I would say that from that perspective, there's probably plenty of other verses, and if you want to follow up on how I know that the earth is more like a sphere, other than my own anecdotal evidence or biblical evidence of a sphere, frankly, I don't know. I've never done that research, but I will be happy to if you would like me to dig in. And honestly, and I don't mean to be flippant about it, this is a big deal. There's more and more people that are talking about some of these things. And here's what's important to us. We, as followers of Christ, we're ambassadors of him, right? And so how we act and things that we believe around us in society and things of that nature may impact our representation of Christ. If we believe everything that we hear without good evidence and research and things of that nature, our witness for Christ may be decreased. And I would say that that's true across the board for conspiracy theorists. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean they're not right in some things, and I'm not trying to say that across the board, but there's a whole trend right now of that, and we need to think through that as how does that evidence our faith and trust in God, and how do we represent him? Because frankly, we declare that we have faith and believe in Jesus Christ. We don't want to water down that faith and belief with another faith and belief in some sort of theory. So just something for us to think about. But I hope that answers your question. And if I dove into that way further than you thought I was going to, I apologize. But I think that that's what the gist of the question was. All right. God bless.